The central Galactic Assembly Hall stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystalline flooring, its domed ceiling displaying a live feed of the swirling nebula outside. 247 species had gathered for the emergency conclave, each delegation seated in precisely calculated atmospheric pods that catered to their biological requirements. The air hummed with translated chatter as representatives from every corner of the known galaxy waited for the session to begin. Eva Martinez stood at the human delegation's pod, adjusting the collar of her diplomatic uniform. At 32 years old, she was the youngest ambassador Earth had ever sent to the Assembly, a fact that hadn't escaped the notice of the more established species. Her dark eyes scanned the chamber with practiced neutrality. Though her jaw was set with barely concealed tension, the Zorothian Prime Speaker, a towering being of crystallized silicon, raised its multifaceted appendages to call the session to order. Its voice resonated through every translator in the hall, a sound like grinding mountains. "We convene to address the matter of Sector 447B, the Prime Speaker announced. The disputed territory must be allocated according to established protocols. Ava's fingers tightened on her datapad. Sector 447B, 23 habitable worlds, 17 of which showed signs of pre-industrial civilizations. For the past 6 months, the Assembly had been debating their fate. The Krellian ambassador, resembling an octopus composed of liquid mercury, flowed forward in its containment sphere. The Krellian Dominion submits its claim based on proximity and historical exploration rights. These worlds fall within our traditional sphere of influence. Disputed, hissed the Vaxian representative, a being of pure energy contained within a magnetic field. The Vaxian Collective discovered 3 of these systems first. Our archaeological evidence proves ancient Vaxian presence. Eva watched as one species after another presented their claims. Not once did anyone mention the beings actually living on those worlds. The indigenous populations were referred to as developing biomass or proto-sentient resources. Her stomach churned at the hive master of the Chithrak swarm shittered through its translator. We proposed the standard solution. Category 4 developmental observation. We place monitoring stations, extract mineral resources from uninhabited zones, and guide the populations toward productive integration into galactic society. A murmur of agreement rippled through the Assembly. Eva felt her heart pounding against her ribs. "With respect," Eva said, her voice cutting through the diplomatic pleasantries, "has anyone considered leaving them alone?" The chamber fell silent. 247 pairs of eyes or eye equivalents turned toward the human delegation. The Prime Speaker's crystalline structure refracted light in what might have been confusion. "Ambassador Martinez, clarify your statement." Eva stood straighter. "I'm asking if anyone has considered the option of not claiming Sector 447B at all, of establishing it as a protected development zone where the indigenous populations can evolve naturally, without interference, observation, or resource extraction." The Krellian ambassador's form rippled with what Ava's cultural database identified as amusement. "Ambassador, you've been in the Assembly for merely 3 cycles. Perhaps you don't understand how galactic civilization functions. Resources must be allocated. Developing species require guidance. This is how it has always been done." "How it's always been done," Eva repeated slowly, "is not the same as how it should be done." The Vaxian representative pulsed with irritation. "The human species achieved spaceflight a mere 200 years ago. You lack the perspective to understand these matters. Every species in this chamber has benefited from the guidance of their predecessors." Ava's datapad lit up with a message from her senior advisor. "Careful. Don't push too hard. She looked up at the assembled representatives, at beings whose civilizations spanned millennia, whose technologies made Earth's achievements look like crude tools. And she thought about the 23 worlds in Sector 447B. about the billions of beings who would never know their fate was being decided in this crystalline hall. "You're right," Eva said quietly. "Humanity is young. We've only been out here for 2 centuries. But in that time, we've learned something that apparently gets forgotten over millennia." "And what," asked the Prime Speaker, "would that be?" "That every conscious being deserves the dignity of choosing their own path." Ava's voice grew stronger. "Earth was nearly claimed by the Vaxian Collective when we first developed radio technology. We were designated for guidance and integration. Do you know why that didn't happen?" The Vaxian representative dimmed slightly. "Because a single Vaxian scout, a minor functionary, violated protocol and warned us. Ava's time to develop faster, to present ourselves as a unified world. That scout was punished for it, I've learned. But that act of conscience gave humanity its freedom." Eva looked around the chamber. "I've read the histories. Every species here has a story like that. A moment when someone broke the rules, showed mercy, gave another species a chance. But somehow, when you've been part of this assembly long enough, you forget. You start seeing resources and assets instead of people." "This is the established order," the Prime Speaker said. But there was uncertainty in its tone. "Then maybe the established order is wrong." Eva picked up her datapad and a sealed case containing Earth's credentials. "Humanity submits a formal proposal. Sector 447b should be designated a protected development zone with a 10,000-year non-interference mandate. No observation stations. No resource extraction. No guidance. Just protection from exactly this kind of discussion." The Krellian ambassador's form roiled. "And if the proposal is rejected?" Eva met its gaze steadily. "Then humanity will enforce the protection zone ourselves. We'll station ships at every approach to those systems. We'll turn back any vessel that attempts entry. And if that means Earth stands alone against the entire assembly, then that's what we'll do." The silence in the chamber was absolute. "You would risk war?" the Prime Speaker asked. "For worlds that aren't even your own species?" "We would risk anything," Eva said, "to prevent us from becoming the kind of species that debates the fate of conscious beings like their mineral deposits." She walked toward the exit of the human delegation pod. Her staff scrambled to follow, confusion and alarm on their faces. "Ambassador Martinez," the Prime Speaker called out. "Where are you going?" Eva paused at the threshold, looking back at the assembled might of galactic civilization. "I'm leaving. This meeting is over as far as humanity is concerned. You can pass whatever resolution you want, but we won't be part of it. When you're ready to treat developing civilizations as people rather than resources, Earth will return to the table. Until then, we'll be in Sector 447b, making sure no one else makes the decision for them." The chamber erupted into chaos as Eva walked out, her small delegation trailing behind her. Through the crystalline walls, she could see their shuttle waiting. And beyond it, the stars. 3 days later, the Assembly passed Resolution 7749H, establishing protected development zones for species below threshold spaceflight capability. The Krellian ambassador had seconded the motion. The Vaxian Collective had voted in favor. And in Sector 447b, 23 worlds continued spinning, their inhabitants unaware that a young species had stood up to an entire galaxy on their behalf. Humanity had walked out of the meeting. The galaxy was still reeling from the astonishment and